Okay, everybody. Hey, you sent in a lot of questions that we tried to answer over the last 5 weeks in this Ask Me Anything sermon series. Special thanks to Pastor Chris Poirier for leaving his church, River Valley, and coming and helping us answer the questions, and for our executive pastor, Troy Singleton. Thank you guys both for all of your hard work. Now what I want to do is just answer some questions that came in online that we didn't get a chance to answer live, and I'm just going to pose these to you guys, and we'll post these answers on social media. Okay, along the lines of parenting, next question asks, how do I do this as a believer? My responsibility is to influence my child's faith. And here's what's beautiful about this question. The person that asked the question says, I'm a sinner, and I'm supposed to build morality and godliness into my child. How do I, as a sinner, do that? Beautiful question, by the way.
I would say find good, godly people that you know and trust and allow them to share their experiences with your child, because that's something that you don't experience, you're not experiencing, that you trust to be able to mentor your children to be not just good people, good kids, but to be God-fearers of Christ. And then once you get better in your faith that you can do it, then you take over those reins, but don't deny them that right to have a relationship with Christ because don't have one.
I mean, I think it's a valid place to ask the question of, well, if you're a believer, and it kind of sounds like in context that you are, but you're admitting that we are therefore sinners, is, well, how did you get there?
Yeah.
That again, this is another circumstance of how do you give yourself grace, and also just be reminded by the reality of you're not doing the saving.
Exactly.
Only the Holy Spirit can do that. Our job is only to be very honest in our existence in communicating who Christ is, who God is, what the Bible tells us, and the realities of the gospel. And guess what? Some of that, living that out, is going to mean that you mess it up a bunch. And I think sometimes being humble in those realities of when you screw up, because, hey, my name is Pastor Chris. I screw up on a daily basis.
Yes, he does.
And thank God for that.
Thank God for that.
That I'm going to fall short every single time, but Jesus is going to pick us up 100% of the time. So I think some of that is you just need to give yourself a break. And don't teach an empty morality, like you said. Don't be good for the sake of being good. Teach what you were taught. And just play out that reality, and I think you'll end up on the right side of it.
Yeah, this question is what drives parents for the centuries on their knees every night, begging God to make up for their mistakes every day. And God has, through the centuries, used mom and dad to be probably the biggest influence on another human being in all of human history. Keep in mind, there's no perfect mom and dad. So you're going to mess this up. And when that happens, don't hide your sin from your children, because if not, you might be presenting this imperfect or this impossible idea of what it looks like to be a Christian. So just admit to your children, man, I messed that up, and man, I needed to ask God's forgiveness, and man, I need to ask your forgiveness too. But give yourself some grace, as you just heard, and keep in mind, only the Holy Spirit of the living God can change another human being's soul. Even a mom or dad cannot change their child's soul. But I believe God will do it through a mom or dad if you're just gracious and open and honest with your children. I believe God will use that, mistakes and flaws and all. At least he's done that over the centuries, and I believe he'll do that in your family too.